Hey everyone, it's 12th of January 2017. I'm in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and I'm at a gym today. I'm at your work, right?
Yep.
And this is Cory Dunne or Dunne?
Yep.
Dunne. Cory Dunne, who is the head guy and founder of the Gi Hive.
Yep.
And before we won't get too much into it right now, but the Gi Hive is basically, Canada's like exclusive kind of Jiu-Jitsu marketer, I guess, or
Retailer.
retailer. Sorry, yeah.
Yep. So very similar to like Budo videos or Fighters Market, that sort of thing. We do only Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu stuff. And 99% of what we do is in Canada.
Cool.
We ship a few packages a year to the U.S., but it's usually just if there's something that's a rare gi that's unavailable anywhere else, somebody from the U.S. will buy it. We don't really market to the U.S. We really just try to stick to Canada, and we definitely just do jiu-jitsu.
Cool. So we'll get back on that in a bit, but let's start off with how did you get started into martial arts and to get to where you are now?
I started in, I don't know what year it was, but when I was in grade 7, we moved to a new town, and we were living way out in the country, and there was literally nothing to do. Like when your closest neighbor is a 25-minute walk away, you're not just going out and hanging out with the guys and playing street hockey. And so after a while of that, my mom got pretty upset of me, lying around on the couch and not doing anything. Mm-hmm. She said, you got to do something. And she tried a few different things, and then finally one night she said, well, let's go in and try the wrestling program at the high school. And so they had the high school team, and they also had a club level team. And so we'd go into the club nights, and I ended up falling in love with it. Ended up wrestling for 6.5 years, 7 years, something like that. And then after that, after I finished high school, I trained for another year and then got a factory job, started working afternoons. That was it. Wrestling was over. Go to college, do a bunch of stuff, live your life. 5 years later, I discovered jiu-jitsu. Ironically enough, a friend of mine was going, he wanted to go as kind of a weight loss thing, and I was like, yeah, cool, I'll go with you. Like, I'll, give you that little bit of support. He ended up not sticking it out, and here I am, 8 years later, still training. So, funny how that works.
And you're a purple belt, right?
Purple belt, yes.
Under Jeff Dawson.
Yep.
Yes. And yeah, it's funny you mentioned that the friend that got you into it is the one that doesn't stick it out. Because I had that in high school when a friend of mine said, hey, it's jiu-jitsu, it's Japanese jiu-jitsu, and then he ended up kind of moving on to other priorities in life, and I got right into it. And then so I decided, I don't want to be that guy when I got my friends in to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the last few years. I'm like, I want to make sure, I don't just show up and then take off. And yeah, having those friends around, I don't know, to me anyways, it seems like, it helps perpetuate, continue to come back, right? I mean, I'm sure you guys, when you first started off, you trained together a lot, right?
Yeah. Yep. So it's always good to, obviously to feel comfortable, and because that's the big thing, right? New people come into a gym, they're uncomfortable, they're unsure of where they're going, they don't even know where the washrooms are, let alone, being comfortable in their surroundings. So, having a friendly face, whether, it's somebody like us that's like a longtime friend, or whether it's just, somebody being helpful on the mat or whatever. But yeah, you definitely need those people, to encourage people and keep them coming back.
Yeah. So the first time we met was actually just this summer, right?
Yes.
So we were at the combative grappling tournament in Petawawa that my previous video with Professor Stephen Bridges, we talked about that. So I was there just to watch. Were you there coaching, or were you participating? I forget.
Both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah. So I have a team for my Army unit. that I'm the team captain of. This year we're 15 guys, I think. Last year we were like 5 or 6.
Cool.
So yeah, I was there coaching, and then also I competed in the advanced, I don't know if it was 140 or 150 pounds, whatever the big guy division is.
Yeah,
but
the big guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, won my division there, and then went into the absolute and got mauled by a purple belt who actually he had like 20 pounds on me, but it wasn't like I got some giant dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was good. And,
And yeah, so you saw my shirt.
Yes.
And that's when you came up to me, asked about the Gi Hive, right?
Yeah, well, I thought you bought it from me.
Yeah.
But you didn't, so, you know.
I know. Somehow we're still friends, though. Yeah, so I got, like, I was like, oh, yeah, Gi Hive. That's really cool. So that's when I started looking into your site, and I was like, yeah, that's awesome. Because, I mean, I remember hearing of another site that was supposed to be Canadian but isn't anymore. They moved the warehouses away. And I was like, oh. So when you came up to me and you're like, hey, yeah, you know, buy from Gi Hive, you know, I'm totally Canadian, you know, I'm here, right? Rather than, you know, I'm sure if you're in Canada and you're watching this, you try to buy stuff online, that's one thing that really gets you is like shipping, right? I mean,
yeah, well, and I'm sure it's not just a Canadian thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure your viewers in Europe probably deal with that too, right? Where, you know, importing stuff and dealing with customs and duties and dealing with long ship times, you know, all that sort of stuff happens, you know, to people all over the world. So yeah, that's, you know, that was a problem I had. And, you know, I decided to fix it and take things in my own hands. And, you know, I don't do any drop shipping. I don't do everything I sell, I have. And so, you know, if I get an order right now, I go in, pull it from stock, put it in a bag, ship it out like you'll have it, you know, depending on where you live in the country, anywhere from tomorrow to 5 days from now. So it all comes very quick, and it's all in Canadian currency, and you don't have to deal with any of that stuff as well.
So, how long have you been running it?
February 2013 we opened.
Okay.
So a few years.
Okay, so we're going on 4 years now coming up. Cool. And that's, I mean, so you're past that kind of, in like that first year, kind of in the deep waters.
Yeah. Well, and I started very small. You know, didn't have a lot of money to put into it. And so the first couple of years were very slow, and then you know, I had a couple of good years. And as you get the name out there, and you know, as people have a good experience, and they tell a friend, and they tell another friend, and you know, word of mouth is obviously huge, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you know, every year we grow and grow and grow, and you know, every month is better than the month before, and we just keep expanding, and then that allows us to bring in new brands and new lines, and you know, then when you have more brands, people, you know, it just steamrolls, right? So, but yeah, in the beginning, it was pretty hard going.
Just like, you know, when you're your first class in the mats, right?
Yeah, first day of school, you know, whatever it is that first day on a new job.
Yeah.
Right.
So, what you said, you know, you wanted to kind of this taking in your own hands, and so what was it really that got you going on? Like, hey, you know, I can do this. I can set up my own retailing site.
I don't know what total. Well, so by trade, I'm a computer programmer.
Okay.
I went to college for computer programming. I built my first website in, I want to say 98. I've been building websites professionally since 2001.
Okay.
So I've got a lot of experience doing that stuff. So that part wasn't very intimidating. The technical side of things wasn't intimidating to me. And ironically enough, the stuff that I use, I don't do any programming anyway. Like, you know, so it's not like I'm doing anything crazy that I'm using that background. But it was enough that part didn't intimidate me. It was more the building the relationships and ordering and supply chain sort of stuff that, you know, and there's still a lot to the business that goes into it, and especially in jiu-jitsu, you know, dealing with Brazilians and language barrier and all that sort of stuff as well. So, that was more of the hurdles that I faced. Whereas, it was never like, oh, I don't know how to build a website or any of that sort of stuff. But the one that really made it sink in for me is one of my teachers, one of our black belts at our club. He spent, I want to say, a month going around to everybody in the gym and saying, hey, have you ordered from this site? Did you get customs? Was it in US dollars? Did you and you asked everybody in the gym, right? Like, what was it like if you ordered from this site? Yeah. He was so intimidated to order. And it's like, man, you're not asking about how is this gi, how's it going to fit me, what's the quality like, did it last? Yeah. You're asking more about, like, how do I buy this thing? Yeah. And that's wrong. Like, you should be, if you're buying a new car, you should be excited about the new car. Yeah. You shouldn't be worried about, like, oh, what's a freight fee and all those other things, right? So,
and that's actually pretty common. I have found, as you're saying that, I'm remembering all these other conversations I've had with guys back in my club, where that's usually the first question out is if I say if someone asks, oh, where do you buy that from? I'd be, hey, this site, and they're like, oh, what's shipping like? Yeah. They don't start asking about the gi. First, they want to know about the site and how it was buying from there and dealing with customs and shipping and all that stuff. Then they'll start, oh, so how's it fit?
Exactly, right.
Yeah, just be that way around.
The priorities are totally backwards, and so that was another thing that I started right when I first started. Is I said, you know what, shipping has got to be simple. Mm-hmm. In Canada, doing free shipping isn't really feasible. I can ship anywhere in the U.S. cheaper than I can in my own city here, right? So shipping's expensive, but what I do is $5 flat rate shipping anywhere in the country. So if you're buying a T-shirt or if you're buying 10 gis, $5, right? Nice. And that just makes it super simple and easy, and it's reasonable. You're not getting gouged, and it's not an unknown, and it's very upfront. So that sets a lot of people at ease as well. Yeah. And it's one less thing to worry about, right?
Yeah. Cool. So you also, how we met was, you were at that tournament and you were talking about, we were talking about yesterday about dropping by another tournament and having a booth. Yep. So that's another avenue that you've worked on, is not just the sites, but also being very active within the community, right? The tournaments. Definitely. How is that going? That must be a lot of work, because I know there's a lot of tournaments that come by. Is that a difficult kind of job to keep your ear to the ground to see what tournaments to be able to set up for, or?
Not really. It's pretty simple for me. If there's a tournament, if I'm available, I'll go to it. Yeah. There's one or two where you start to, once you look at more of a 4-hour drive, mm-hmm. much more than that, you start to really have to pick and choose. But locally, Toronto is half hour, an hour away from here, mm-hmm.
And
there's a tournament there's at least a tournament a month. Some months there's 2, mm-hmm. so I'm very fortunate, and it's just I'll sponsor all of them, as long as they're not trying to price gouge me or whatever. And I go, and I set up my booth and meet people and talk to people and, focus on the customers, and you get a lot of feedback that way too, about people saying, oh, do you have these gis or whatever, and you figure out what brands people are looking for. Yeah. And that's, I just recently brought in War Tribe. Okay. And every female that would come by my booth would be like, oh, when are you getting War Tribe gis? When are you getting War Tribe gis? So finally I brought them in, and they're selling like crazy, and it's all women. Women only are buying them, right? I haven't seen hardly any guys wearing them. But if you're not out there, you wouldn't know that, right? Yeah.
So I have in my experience talking with people, I've found women and have their own circle about talking about gis that is probably a bit more on what's the best gi out there than guys do. A lot of guys are kind of like, oh, I have my favorite brand, whatever. But when I listen to the girls, like they get right in depth, and so if you can get that market, that's
well, and they've also got a much more uphill battle where as a guy you can wear pretty much any gi, right? Whereas for the girls, it's like, okay, the company X makes 20 different gis, and they make this one for girls, and it's pink and it has flowers on it.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't need a pink gi, and I don't need flowers on it. I just want something regular that fits me properly. Or they just take a guy's cut and make it smaller and think that it's a girl's cut, and it's like, well,
totally not.
Yeah, they're not built the same, and you can't wear the same sizes. So yeah, they've all worn the MC Hammer pants, and they've all worn, they've all been through that, and so they realize, even like War Tribe's a pretty expensive brand, but you pay the extra little bit and you get what you pay for, right? So they definitely, they can't just walk in and go on the website and pick out any gi. They've got a much more meticulous search. So.
And you got them covered, right?
I do, and more so all the time, right?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, because I mean, that's the market, right? What's in store? What do you have in mind for 2017? Any kind of expansions coming up, or any kind of ideas on? What to do to what your goals are for the year?
Yep, I've got my goals, and a lot of them are kind of behind the scenes things.
Okay.
There's certain things that it's funny because running a business is just like jiu-jitsu, right? And it's the better you get at one thing, the more you're like, I got to work on this other thing.
Okay.
Or there's always. You're never done,
right?
It's always room to grow. So yeah, I've got a few different little marketing things I got to focus on, a few little administrative things to make sure that things flow well behind the scenes, and then obviously bringing in different brands is always huge for us. Every time we bring in a new brand, so we just brought in a couple of new brands just before Christmas. And now we're starting to get into the reorder. We've sold enough of them that we can now reorder and build that relationship. Because you never know when you bring something in how it's going to do, right?
Yeah.
So, and there's that. And then we've got a lot of tournaments coming up as well. We've got Grappling Industries this weekend. There's a tournament the following weekend in Fort Erie. There's a OJA tournament coming up in the middle of February. So, in the next 4 or 5 weeks, we've got 3 tournaments as well. So,
we'll be pretty busy.
Yeah, we'll be sponsoring all those. We'll be set up with a booth, meeting people, talking jiu-jitsu, trying stuff on. Ascension, I may or may not compete. We'll see how things go. And so it's it's onwards and upwards.
Yeah,
right?
That's cool. I'm loving that you're able to, balance it all. Dealing with the business as well as getting out there on the mats and competing. Because I know a lot of people, it's hard enough just to have any job and put in the time to get ready to compete, let alone just train regularly. But you're pretty dedicated, I guess you could say, on all fronts.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if that's priorities or habits or motivation or what it is, but I've looked at a lot of other companies and what a lot of other people do, and I've seen people start companies and they sacrifice their training time. You think you're going to open a jiu-jitsu company and it's going to give you more time to train, and then people sacrifice training time to build the business. And so, to strike that balance, would I be further ahead in training if I wasn't running a business? Probably. Would I be further ahead in the business if I wasn't training? Probably, but you can't really sacrifice either. I make the time, and a lot of late nights and some early mornings, and make it happen. So
that's cool, man. I'm looking forward to seeing more of you in the future. I'll be watching you on social media, and all you out there, you'll be on the lookout for the Gi Hive, especially if you are in Canada. Check them out. I'll put up your links, and yeah, check out the Gi Hive. Thank you, Cory, for this.
Thank you.
It's been great. And all you out there, till next time, see you on the mats. Oos.